My story is about being the spouse of a high risk worker. Several years ago, at the beginning of my husband's military career, we had been assigned to March Air Force Base, which was in Riverside, California, my hometown. To begin with, we did not want to go there for a duty station. They didn't give us a choice. And when we got there, the base had already started the realignment process to turn it into a reserve base. They had closed the base hospital. This was our very first duty station, so we did not know anything about healthcare. John was working a project a few nights in a row where he was working until about 8 o'clock at night, working a 12-hour shift, long shifts. I did not know what they were doing until I got a call from his supervisor saying that I needed to come and get him, that he had been hurt. The base is about 20 minutes away. It's about 7 p.m. at night. And my first thought was, hurt how? And then I thought, maybe I don't want to know till I get there, because if it's really bad, I won't be able to drive to the base because I will be really upset. And I started getting upset. By the time I got there, none of the other workers were there except for the supervisor. And he said that they were moving refrigerators. These are, major appliances. And someone had dropped one, and it hit John's leg, the back of his thigh. And first I'm thinking, what? Yes, he's a supply warehouseman. Why are they moving major appliances during a 12-hour shift to begin with? And then looking around that there's nobody else left except for that supervisor, my first thought is, why aren't you taking him to the emergency room? And looking at my husband, who was out of sorts and shock, why does he not have an ice pack on his leg? And I think I went into shock, because normally when my family members hurt, I will tell whoever it is off. And I didn't tell that idiot off because I'd gone into shock. I just obediently took him, and I asked, where are we to go? They closed the base hospital. We didn't know what we know now after 22 years in the military, that we could have taken him to any hospital, ER. He told us to take John to the VA, which was 40 minutes away at Loma Linda, which I'd never been to before. But I took him, and we got there, and there's nobody around. And I can't believe how long we waited before they checked him in. It was probably an hour, and it was another 2 hours before he was actually seen by a doctor. And then the doctor gave him a profile, or doctor's note, saying bed rest for 3 days and light duty after that for like a week. But by the time John was seen, his leg, it almost looked like there was some kind of a blood clot, and it was black, the blackest bruise I had ever seen. And it was this, this huge thing. And I was scared, and I thought, what the heck? I'd been in the Army myself. And if something like that had happened, all of my supervisors were responsible and made sure we got over to see the medics immediately. So at least by him being on bed rest and then on light duty, he had to miss the rest of that project they were working on, moving all those appliances. And I thought about this experience at the time. John was limping that night. He had to lean on me to get to the car. and lean on me to get into the hospital. There was no wheelchair. Just a lot of, gosh, interesting, weird elements to this event. And he's had issues with that part of his leg ever since then. And this was 28 years ago. That one event by one irresponsible supervisor made a huge difference, and at least for myself, every time we went to a duty station after that and we'd go to meet the supervisor, I would think, oh no, is this going to be another one of those irresponsible, uncaring supervisors? And am I going to get a call in the middle of the night or whenever that something's happened to him again? Thank goodness after that, 3 years we spent at March, we were stationed to Kelly at San Antonio, again to realign the base because it was slated for closure. But that chain of command, his supervisor, James T. Kirk, was responsible in caring for the troops that he had under his leader. He was a true leader. He ran a tight ship. Anything going on in that warehouse, he knew about. And he made sure things were getting done the way they were supposed to. And he cared about the well-being, and not just physical well-being, but emotional well-being of his subordinates. In fact, he would have barbecues at his house, and they had a nice little pool. They lived out in the country, him and his wife, and we'd go and have barbecues. And if some of them would drink, and there was one, because there was one troop that liked to drink a lot, and he made sure that guy did not go home. He kept him there to stay the night. He was not going to have any of his troops driving after drinking. And when John got his first deployment to Saudi Arabia, when our son was 13 months old, Sergeant Kirk, he was checking on me frequently. Him and then one of the other female sergeants, Sergeant Provo, they would come by and they said, "What do you need help with?" Because my car had broken down, and he was trying to fix it. They were always going above and beyond. And as long as I knew we were there and John was working for him, I didn't worry about him. Gosh, it's enough when your spouse is in a stressful job to begin with, and then if you've got some leader or supervisor that's not being a leader, that just adds more stress to an already crappy situation. I've suffered from anxiety and PTSD from my Army career, and my husband's high stress job just added all the more to mine. He actually had several more deployments, and it wasn't it was after we had left San Antonio the first time, and he was out of Sergeant Kirk's jurisdiction. Your supervisors can make all the difference in the world, whether the safety protocols are followed and you make it home every day. And it's their responsibility to make sure that they're following those safety protocols so that your spouse can come home to you in one piece and that you don't have to worry about them when they're on the job. He's in a job now where that I worry constantly. Just driving down there to work because it's an hour away. And what's going on in our world, it's very stressful. And this just adds more to my own stress. I haven't been able to get any kind of a sustainable employment since we've been married because it's enough worrying about his stressful job. If I had my own too, I just wouldn't, I don't know where I would be. Having leadership and supervisors that give a damn about their workers and making sure that they're constantly safe makes all the difference in the world, guys. So please, treat your workers like your family. Take care of them. and make sure they make it home to their families safely.